Welcome to Weddings Unveiled, the podcast designed to help you build a productive, profitable wedding or event business. Here's your host, Angela Profit.
Hi, y'all. It's Angela Profit, your event and productivity therapist, coming to you from the heart of Music City in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Weddings Unveiled, professional tips and secrets on wedding planning and event design, where we take you behind the scenes of our past experiences in the event industry, what we have learned from them, and how they have made us stronger. This podcast will help you grow a productive and profitable business to launch you into success within the hospitality industry. Today, I'm joined by the best communications and event consultant in the business, Alison Burry.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for having me, Angela. I'm so excited to share some of our past experiences together. We've definitely been through some unique situations over the years. What are we discussing today?
Today, we are talking about destination weddings again, and if at all possible, don't go alone.
Yes, this wedding was a fun experience, but there was a lot that we had to plan ahead for, especially when you're going to an island that doesn't have any resources at all. So once you're there, you have just what you brought. So we had to ship a lot of items. We put together their little welcome boxes and all of the paper products, and we shipped all of that directly there. And all of the video equipment was shipped there, and we had a really big, beautiful crystal chandelier that was shipped there, but it all had to arrive 45 days in advance. So there was a lot of planning ahead, and the bride and groom couldn't change their minds very much, because sometimes when we get down to the wire, they like to make changes, but that could not happen in this case.
So I would say a couple things. Even before I arrived, I wish I would have done a few things differently. For example, for this specific destination wedding, all of the guests had to overnight in Miami just because the flight was so stinking early in the morning, and they had to go out of Miami the way that they chartered their flights with the travel agency that we work with. And so everybody got in the night before, and apparently there were a few issues with rooms in Miami where everyone was overnighting. And the poor bride was texting and calling me from the front desk because there was confusion. And so if I could go back and change that, I would have flown directly to Miami and stayed at that hotel with them to make sure that everything was smooth, because it got off to a rather rocky start. But it was a small, intimate group. Everybody was super nice. They were very nice about it. The hotel did a great job. And then once everybody got there, I had to go get all of the paper stuff and all the stuff that we had shipped over, unpack all that, unwrap it all, unbubble wrap it all. Thankfully, everything was still intact. And one funny thing is, when the bride said she wanted a big crystal chandelier, I asked the people on the island what chandeliers they had access to. And I asked for a picture. And I asked them to please send me the dimensions. Like, take a picture with your hand next to it, for example. So their definition of a big chandelier and my definition of a big chandelier is completely different. And so when I sent them a picture of what we were thinking, they're like, oh, we don't have access to anything like that. So we literally found a chandelier company that we partnered with in Miami and got this most, like Alison said, this amazing Swarovski crystal chandelier. It was beautiful. And then when I got there, they had made me a video to share with the guys on the island on how to put it together. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking, praying the whole time that nothing was going to fall. But they did a great job. And after the chandelier was hung, I had asked them to have 4 60-inch square wood tables. And apparently their 60-inch squares on this island in this country is not the same thing that we have in the United States. So again, I should have asked for a picture. The tables were completely the wrong size. We didn't really have access to anything other than a 60-inch round, which was not going to cut it. So I ended up going to one of the restaurants and getting little, like 36-inch top square tables and putting, I think, 12 of them together in the center to make one big square. because I had to have these linens fit. I had traveled thousands of miles with 3 huge bags of these specialty linens that were absolutely amazing, that I was going to figure out a way to make them work. And I had to do a lot of rigging and get up under the table and pin them together. And, thank God I brought safety pins and needle and thread and all that stuff with me. So that was a good thing. The wedding went great. Everyone had such a fun time. The other thing that happened expectation-wise was the bride and groom wanted fireworks at the very end. And our definition of fireworks, of a $5,000 fireworks show in the United States versus what you get there for about the same amount of money, was insanely disappointing and underwhelming. And I just remember them looking back at me when the fireworks went up, and it literally was like this one little box and like one little poof, and that was it. And I was like waiting for more, and I think we were all waiting for more. And then I ran over to the guy, and I'm like, "Is that it?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, yeah." I'm like, "Okay." So I wish I would have asked more questions. Again, if I could have seen a picture of the box of the fireworks and what it was going to come out of, I would have known. And I did talk with the resort, and we kind of got screwed on the price about expectations on that. And then the last big challenge that I really learned a lot from was that this was Halloween night. And for some crazy reason, something happened with the airlines when American and United they were going through a merger at the time. And for some crazy reason, every single guest on that island at that wedding, the return flight was canceled. And all the guests were getting notifications on their phone through email and text message. Well, luckily, I had good Wi-Fi, and so the travel agency that we work with, the guy that was in charge texted me and said, "Just a heads up, I want to let you know that everyone's return flights, it was canceled, but I'm already on top of it. I'm rebooking everything. Don't worry." So I was so thankful because A, I didn't have time to go do it, and B, I was able to tell all the guests, "Hey, chill out, no big deal. The flights are going to be fine." And so everyone continued to drink and have fun. But the next day, when everybody had to leave and they were trying to check into their flights, there were some couples that were a little irritated that they didn't have first class or they weren't sitting with their significant other. And, at this point, I'm like, you better be glad you just have a ticket to get back. And so, I tried to be funny about it. But I was on the same flight as most of all of those guests coming back for this particular wedding, which I never, ever, ever want to do again. I never want to be on the same flight because the whole time they all were looking at me complaining. And I'm thinking, you have no clue, like all the luggage that I just went through customs with and all the stuff that we just dealt with, like just be happy that you had a wonderful time when you're going home. And so I just had to smile and say, well, luckily we're all on the plane to get home on time. So I think that really wraps it up with that one.
Yeah, that was definitely a lot of learning experiences, especially as far as travel goes and all of the details, along with taking care of 30, 40 plus guests, travel information and bookings and all of that. But what would you say that your biggest takeaway was from everything that happened?
I would say my biggest takeaway is just understanding that working with customs ahead of time is very, very important. Ask clarifying questions. And if you're going to manage all the travel for all of your guests, I would say have your email listed. Don't allow them to have access because everybody kind of freaked out, which they didn't really need to. And again, just always remain calm.
Great. Well, Angela, can you share with our listeners some of the different products and resources you have available to help wedding and event planners?
Absolutely. You can visit the blog on the website, and there's lots of great articles and resources available there, which it's angelaprofit.com. You can sign up for tips and resources and be part of our email list. We'll send you all kinds of juicy details. We do webinars and live events, so watch social media for more about that.
Awesome. Well, Angela, thank you so much for sharing your valuable advice with us today. I can't wait for next week to tell more of our incredible experiences together.
And thank you, Alison, so much for joining me. And thank you so much to our listeners for joining us today on Weddings Unveiled, professional tips and secrets on wedding planning and event design. Tune in next week to learn more from our past experiences. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it with other wedding and event professionals. Be sure to subscribe today so you never ever miss the juicy details of Weddings Unveiled. I'm so passionate about helping other event professionals, and with my background in psychology, I appreciate that our best selves develop from real life situations. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for more tips on how to grow your business. And if you have a question or an unresolved issue that you want guidance on, connect with us on angelaprofit.com. For more valuable resources, again, visit the website. And until next time, remember to stay productive and profitable.
You've been listening to Weddings Unveiled with Angela Profit. Join us next time for more insights to help you build a productive, profitable wedding or event business. For more great resources, head over to angelaprofit.com.